Roger that. Boy, look at its size.
Is that the aggressor's mothership?
For the most part, Earth Defense Force has long been a series where you know roughly what you're going to get each time. Giant insects, robots, and all manner of other creatures invade the planet, and players use a wide assortment of weapons to take them on. There's been a slow evolution between games, but the core combat is purposefully simple, making it easy for nearly any type of player to jump in at nearly any time. For Earth Defense Force Iron Rain, developer Ukes tags in from the traditional developer Sandlot. Ukes attempts to capture the spirit of the lighthearted series, while simultaneously trying to increase its depth. The new mindset is immediately evident in the core mechanics. In previous games, the Ranger is the most basic class, a simple foot soldier who can perform quick rolls to get out of danger. Here, the Trooper is the Ranger equivalent, but the class functions a bit differently. Instead of being able to roll, the Trooper has a less cumbersome dash that allows it to be quite nimble. The dash comes at a cost, though, and can only be used a handful of times before needing to recharge. Another new feature, the Overdrive, greatly powers up the Trooper for a short time. In this state, the Trooper moves, reloads, and fires faster, while also being able to dash without restraint. Yet Overdrive is only usable once per mission unless you specifically equip an item that provides an additional use. The strict limitation on Overdrive, as well as its sheer power, adds an interesting strategic layer to Earth Defense Force. Missions regularly throw unexpected things at the player, such as the sudden introduction of new enemies. Knowing when to cash in on Overdrive adds quite a bit of excitement, since it feels great when you time it just right, or when it bails you out of an otherwise grim situation. Coordinating Overdrive use with other players in co-op for maximum efficiency is also enjoyable, and the additional element makes communication feel even more vital than in the past, if only slightly. Each class has its own overdrive ability, and all classes are sufficiently different from one another. Similar to the Fencer of the past, the Heavy Striker is a hulking armored class that can wield weapons in each hand. Jetlifter, similar to the Wing Diver, is fragile but can fly through the air, and it's the most mobile class of them all. The most interesting class is the brand new one, the Prowler. Prowlers can grapple to distant points, flinging themselves forward. It's a mechanic that works both practically and because of the fact that it's so much fun to zip from place to place. Another interesting aspect of the class is that the Prowler summons a giant rideable insect for its overdrive. The player gets access to the mobility and attacks of the creature, making for a powerful combination that can easily defeat large foes. There's something innately appealing about taking the thing that's been trying to kill you and using that as a weapon. Beyond the new class and changes to classes, there are some pretty fundamental differences to progression that move away from the Sandlot standard. Instead of acquiring new weapons from enemy drops on the field, players spend money and gems to purchase weapons, and more become available over time, acting like an evolving shop. The amount of money earned is dictated by how well you do during a mission, and the ranking comes from categories like the amount of damage taken or how quickly a mission is completed. You also earn less money for each item you use. Before a mission, you can create a loadout of weapons and items. Each class can only bring a certain number of items such as health recovery devices, grenades, turrets, and so on. Considering how vital these items sometimes feel, the punishment of earning less money while using them seems fair. All of these things taken together require a much greater degree of focus and decision-making than is typical for the series. It's commendable and understandable that Ukes tries so hard to insert a greater degree of depth, but the new direction does come at a cost. Enemies are faster and more mobile, with even large ones being able to cross massive distances in no time. Weapons can have many downsides, such as lengthy reload times that rely on an active reload mechanic to circumvent. Enemies also just take a long time to bring down, and the game doesn't mind throwing an overwhelming abundance of beefy targets at you repeatedly. It's a challenge that can at times be rewarding to overcome, but after a while, the feeling of triumph begins to morph into a weary and begrudging march forward. Past EDF games absolutely have high health enemies and can also feel repetitive, but there's nonetheless a better balance at play. In those games, you can cleave through tons of smaller enemies like butter, while also taking on larger-than-life threats. The push and pull between easily smashing through waves and struggling against something mighty makes the missions a bit easier to swallow. Iron Rain doesn't have the same level of cathartic joy to it. While it has many good ideas and gets certain things right, it just doesn't feature the simplest pleasures of the series in quite the same way. The story and mission structure come across in a similar manner. There's absolutely a greater emphasis on presentation with more story-focused segments and the ability to customize your character with different hairstyles and clothing. Iron Rain even makes strong attempts to keep the goofy sense of humor through things like soldier banter, which is certainly appreciated.
You know, you really scare me sometimes, Brenda.
As if you have anything valuable in there.
Missions themselves are also more varied, occasionally going beyond just killing every enemy in sight by having players survive for a certain amount of time or protect a particular item of interest. It's just unfortunate that the game's biggest moments and enemies have a disappointing sense of familiarity to them. Iron Rain doesn't reach any remarkable creative heights, rarely instilling a sense of awe. There's nothing quite as wild and weird as shooting the limbs off a gigantic frogman in Earth Defense Force 5, resulting in a comical fountain of purple blood. In general, Iron Rain repeats its own ideas too quickly and isn't outlandish enough to make that repetition enjoyable. Competitive multiplayer is yet another solid concept undercut by its execution. Two teams try to kill monsters, pick up the gems they drop, and then deposit those gems at specific points on the map. Whichever team has the most gems at the end of the wave wins the round. It's possible to kill off the other team and steal their gems as well, so there's a necessary balance between choosing whether to engage other players or monsters. Yet the skill in making such choices is partly ruined by the multiplayer arenas being so small and having so little within them. When you put a ton of monsters and two teams of players in these spaces, there's just too much going on. It promotes total chaos, and instead of that chaos feeling exciting, matches happen haphazardly and lack any real tension.
Nice going, but I'm still getting other requests for support.
Earth Defense Force Iron Rain has its heart in the right place. Instead of simply treading water, it wants to push ahead. Such a drive makes the game entertaining, especially if you're already invested in the series and are curious about the evolution. Sadly, the game doesn't match its own ambition, grasping at greater heights without fully solving the problems its ideas create. Even so, there's something valuable here, and hopefully Yuke's gets another attempt to refine its direction.
They may be babies, but they're still bigger than your everyday spiders. Perfect size. I wonder if we can keep these as pets?
Easy Allies reviews are made possible by generous viewers just like you. If you like what you see, check out patreon.com/easyallies to help us make more. For just $1 a month, you can gain access to weekly updates, spoiler discussions, and exclusive shows.
Recharging energy.